Welcome back to Zcoin. Today we are counting down the top 6 most valuable Lincoln wheat penny coins that are worth a fortune, some of them even millions of dollars. If you have an old penny lying around, stay tuned because you might just be holding a small fortune in your hand. We're diving deep into a fascinating piece of American coinage history, the 1973 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, before we get into the juicy details of value and rarity, let's start with some background on this iconic coin. The Lincoln penny has been a staple of American currency since it was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the original design featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse and 2 wheat ears on the reverse. This design continued until 1958, when it was replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial design created by Frank Gasparo. The Memorial reverse was used until 2008, and then came the Lincoln Bicentennial reverses in 2009, followed by the Union Shield reverse starting in 2010. Now here's where things get interesting. While many people refer to any old penny as a wheat penny, the 1973 Lincoln penny is not a wheat penny. It features the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. However, because it's over 50 years old now and because of a few rare errors and varieties, this penny has gained a lot of attention from collectors, especially in recent years. So while the term wheat penny is inaccurate for 1973, it's still worth exploring this coin's potential value and why it's been making waves in the collector's world. First, let's talk mintage numbers. In 1973, the United States Mint struck over 3 billion Lincoln pennies across 3 locations. To break it down, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 3.7 billion coins. These coins bear no mint mark. The Denver Mint struck more than 3.5 billion coins, and these bear the small d mint mark located just below the year. Lastly, the San Francisco Mint struck over 3 million proof coins for collectors, and these are marked with an S. Because the Philadelphia and Denver Mint coins were produced in such massive quantities, most of them are considered common. However, certain examples stand out due to condition errors and other factors. Let's first talk about condition. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC that are in mint state condition, especially those with a grade of MS67 or higher, are very desirable. The vast majority of 1973 pennies have been circulated, which means they have wear scratches or discoloration. But a pristine uncirculated example with a high grade can fetch serious money. For example, a 1973 Philadelphia penny graded MS67 red sold at auction for over $400. A 1973 Denver penny graded MS67 red has sold for over $500. Proof coins from San Francisco with a grade of PR69 deep cameo have sold for over $100. So yes, while these pennies are common in circulation, finding one in top condition can be very profitable. Now let's talk about the errors and varieties. This is where things get really exciting for collectors. Some of the most valuable 1973 pennies are those with mint errors. One of the most popular types is the doubled die. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is engraved with a doubled image. If you find a 1973 penny with clear doubling in the lettering or the date, you may be looking at a doubled die error. These coins can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the severity and the coin's overall condition. Another type of error is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned with the die. The result is a coin that looks partially blank or has a crescent-shaped design. The more off-center the coin is without losing the full date, the more valuable it can be. Off-center 1973 pennies have sold for anywhere from $20 to over $100 depending on how dramatic the error is. There are also clipped planchet errors where a portion of the coin is missing. These are highly collectible, especially if the clip is significant and the rest of the coin is well struck. There are also broad struck errors where the coin is struck without a retaining collar, causing it to spread out and appear larger and flatter. Each of these mint errors adds to the coin's value and interest among collectors. Now let's take a moment to clear up a common myth. Some people believe that all old pennies are worth a fortune. This is not true. Most 1973 pennies in circulated condition are worth only face value. But the key here is to look for coins in exceptional condition or with rare errors. These are the coins that can turn a penny into a small treasure. As of the current market in 2025, the value of a 1973 penny varies widely. A regular circulated penny from 1973 is still worth just 1 cent. But a coin in high-grade condition can be worth $50 to $500 or more. Error coins and proof coins can be worth even more depending on demand and rarity. Online marketplaces like eBay heritage auctions and great collections have shown strong interest in top-grade specimens and error varieties. So if you think you might have a valuable 1973 penny, it might be worth getting it appraised or graded. Let's summarize everything. The 1973 Lincoln 1-cent penny is not a wheat penny, but it's still highly collectible due to age, condition, and possible errors. While most are common and worth only a cent, coins in mint state condition or with dramatic mint errors can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Proof coins from San Francisco are especially valuable in perfect grades. If you have a 1973 penny, check the mint mark, inspect the coin under magnification, and consider having it graded if it looks pristine or unusual. Before we end, here's a quick tip. Always store your coins properly. Use coin flips or holders to protect them from air, moisture, and scratches. Avoid touching coins with bare hands, especially proof coins. And always research before selling. A coin that looks ordinary might surprise you with its value if it has the right characteristics. Where we talk about coins, currency, and the stories they tell. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that might be hiding in your change jar, or even sitting unnoticed in your pocket. We're talking about the 1980 Lincoln penny, a common coin at first glance, but under the right circumstances, it could be worth far more than 1 cent. This video will cover the coin's historical background, minting details, potential errors, and what collectors are currently paying for special versions of this coin in today's market. Let's start with a bit of background. The Lincoln cent has been minted since 1909 and remains one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. When it was first introduced, it featured 2 wheat stalks on the reverse side, which is why collectors call those early coins wheat pennies. But by 1959, the wheat design was retired and replaced with the image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This newer design is what we see on the 1980 penny. So to be clear, the 1980 penny is not a wheat penny, it's a Lincoln Memorial cent, but it still has its own intriguing story. The D mint mark on the 1980 penny tells us it was minted at the Denver Mint. That year, the United States Mint struck over 5 billion Lincoln cents in Denver alone. With that kind of mintage, it's no surprise that most 1980 pennies are still worth just face value, a single cent. But as with many things in coin collecting, the devil is in the details. Condition, rarity, and errors can dramatically change a coin's value. Some of the most valuable 1980 Lincoln cents are the ones with unique features or minting errors that make them stand out. First, let's talk about the composition of the coin. The 1980 penny was made mostly of copper. It contains 95% copper and 5% zinc, which makes it different from pennies minted after 1982, which are mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. Because of this high copper content, even regular 1980 pennies are technically worth more than 1 cent just in melt value. However, it is illegal to melt down US cents for their metal content, so that's more of a theoretical value than one you can actually realize. Still, collectors care about composition and weight, especially when identifying transitional errors. Now let's talk about the condition of the coin. In coin collecting, condition is king. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher numbers representing better condition. A 1980 penny in circulated condition, the kind of coin you'd find in your change, is generally only worth 1 cent. But if you happen to find an uncirculated example, one that's never been used in day-to-day transactions and still has its original shine, that coin can be worth more. In mint state grades like MS-65 or higher, collectors might pay between $1 and $5 or even more, depending on the quality and eye appeal. Now, let's talk about the big money, the rare errors and varieties that make ordinary-looking coins sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One type of valuable 1980 penny is a double die. Double die errors occur when the coin die itself has a doubling on the design elements. This can result in visible doubling of letters, numbers, or other features on the coin. Although no major doubled dies have been widely recognized for the 1980 penny, any strong doubling that shows up clearly to the naked eye can catch the attention of collectors and raise the value significantly. Another rare and valuable variety involves off-center strikes. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during minting, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing or pushed to one side. Off-center errors that are around 50% off with a clear date and mint mark can be worth anywhere from $50 to over $200 depending on condition. Then there are die cracks, cuts, and lamination errors. These are all types of minting errors that result in raised lines, missing metal, or distorted parts of the design. While these types of errors aren't always as valuable as doubled dies or off-center strikes, they can still sell for more than face value, often between $10 and $100 depending on how dramatic the error is. One particularly interesting kind of error is called a transitional error. This occurs when a coin is struck on a planchet, or blank, intended for a different year or composition. For example, if a 1980 penny was somehow struck on a zinc planchet intended for 1983, that would be a major rarity. Likewise, if it was struck on a foreign planchet or an experimental blank, it could be extremely valuable. These errors are very rare, but they do exist, and when authenticated by professional grading companies, they can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. So, what is the most a 1980 penny has ever sold for? While typical examples are only worth 1 cent, high-grade specimens and rare errors have sold for significant amounts. A 1980 penny graded MS67 red by PCGS, which means it is in superb condition and has retained its original red copper color, has sold for over $200. Combine that kind of condition with a mint error and the value could jump even higher. If you think you might have a valuable 1980 penny, your best bet is to first examine it closely with a magnifying glass or loupe. Look for doubling on the date or letters, check for off-center strikes, and inspect for any oddities like cracks or missing parts of the design. If your coin appears to have a mint error or is in pristine uncirculated condition, consider sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. A small investment in grading could result in a much higher resale value down the road. It's also worth staying up to date with current market trends. Coin values can fluctuate based on collector demand, economic factors, and even metal prices. As of now in the current market, which continues to show strong interest in rare coins and mint errors, high-quality 1980 pennies with notable features are still commanding good prices at auctions and online sales. In conclusion, the 1980 Lincoln penny might seem like just another coin, but it has the potential to be worth much more if you know what to look for. Whether it's due to a rare mint error, an exceptional condition, or a combination of both, this little copper coin has a story to tell. So the next time you're digging through your coin jar or examining your pocket change, keep an eye out. You never know when a common coin might turn out to be a hidden treasure. Today, we're diving into one of the most intriguing coins in American numismatic history, the 1982 Lincoln wheat penny. You might think all pennies are created equal, but this 1 cent coin might just be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So sit tight as we explore the history, rarity, and current market value of the 1982 penny. This is not your average pocket change. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and why this coin is turning heads across the world. Let's rewind to the year 1982. Ronald Reagan was president. Michael Jackson's Thriller album was still new. And in the world of coinage, something very interesting was happening. Up to 1982, the United States Mint had been making pennies primarily out of copper. But due to rising copper prices, it was becoming too expensive to keep using the metal. So the Mint made a big change. In 1982, the United States transitioned from using 95% copper to a cheaper alternative, zinc with a thin copper coating. This change meant that 2 different types of 1 cent coins were being produced that year, the heavier copper pennies and the lighter zinc ones. But here's where it gets even more interesting. There were 7 different varieties of the 1982 penny because the year included both large and small date styles, different compositions, and multiple mint marks. Among them, one became especially rare and valuable, the 1982 D small date penny made of solid copper. Now let's get to the D mint mark. That D stands for Denver, where the coin was struck. Denver made a lot of pennies in 1982, but as far as we know, it only made zinc coins with the small date style. So when a small number of copper 1982 D small date pennies showed up, it was a total shock to collectors. The discovery of the 1982 D small date penny made of copper turned the numismatic community upside down. For years, experts believed that Denver only struck small date pennies using the new zinc composition. But when copper ones started surfacing, it led to a wave of excitement, speculation, and intense examination. Only a very small number of 1982 D copper small date pennies have ever been confirmed. How small? As of today, fewer than 2 dozen examples are known to exist. That's out of billions of pennies struck that year. So what happened? Most likely, a few leftover copper planchets, the blank discs used to make pennies, were accidentally used during the minting of the small date-style dies in Denver. It was a minting error, plain and simple, but an incredibly rare one. It's these kinds of accidents that make coin collecting so thrilling. And so how can you tell if you have one of these rare 1982 D copper small date pennies? First, check for the D mint mark. It will be located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. Then, determine whether it has a small or large date style. This is best done by comparing the number styles on known examples. The small date features a more curved 2, and the top of the 8 and the 2 are more level with each other. And next, test the metal composition. Copper pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, while zinc pennies weigh only 2.5 grams. You'll need a digital scale with at least 2 decimal places for accuracy. If your 1982 D penny is a small date and weighs around 3.11 grams, you may be holding a rare treasure. It's important to note that visual inspection is not enough. Even experts sometimes need third-party authentication. If you believe you have one, get it professionally graded and authenticated by a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. Now let's talk money. What's this coin really worth? If you're lucky enough to find a genuine 1982 D copper small date penny, its value could range from $5,000 to over $18,000, depending on condition and grade. At auction, these coins have fetched thousands, and prices are only going up as more collectors enter the market. Even standard 1982 pennies can have some value, especially if they're in uncirculated condition or come from mint sets. But the copper small date 1982 D penny stands alone in terms of rarity and value. If this has you running to check your piggy bank or coin jar, you're not alone. Coin hunting is one of the easiest hobbies to get into. You can start by simply checking your change, or going through penny rolls from the bank. Make sure to have a magnifying glass, a scale, and a reference chart for date styles. And remember, just because it's old doesn't mean it's valuable. And just because it's common doesn't mean it's worthless. Sometimes it's the small details, like date size, composition, and mint errors, that create the biggest opportunities. The 1982 D small date copper penny is a great reminder that history is always hiding in plain sight. From a simple mistake at the mint to one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents, this coin is living proof that a penny saved really can be a penny earned, or maybe even 1,000. So next time you see a penny lying on the ground, don't ignore it. Pick it up. Flip it over. Check the date. Who knows? You might just be holding onto a small piece of American history and a big piece of treasure. Today, we're exploring a coin you've probably seen hundreds of times without realizing its hidden value. We're talking about the 1995 Lincoln 1-cent penny, and while it may seem like just another penny at first glance, there's a surprising story behind it. So grab your magnifying glass and let's get into the details of the 1995 penny that might be worth far more than 1 cent. First, let's set the stage with a bit of history. The Lincoln penny has a long legacy in the United States. It was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This was the first time a real person, and specifically a president, was ever featured on a regular issue U.S. coin. The early Lincoln cents bore the famous wheat reverse, which collectors lovingly call the wheat penny. Those were minted until 1958 in 1959. To mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the United States Mint updated the design. The reverse of the coin was changed from the twin wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial, which stood proudly on the back of the penny until 2008. So, the 1995 penny does not feature the wheat design, but that doesn't mean it's without value or historical significance. In fact, 1995 brought with it a unique twist in the world of coin collecting. Enter the 1995 double die obverse. This is the crown jewel for collectors hunting through their 1995 pocket change. A doubled die error occurs during the minting process when the die itself is improperly made, leading to a striking that shows doubled images. For the 1995 penny, this doubling is visible in the words Liberty and In God We Trust, as well as the date. If you're lucky enough to find one of these 1995 double die obverse pennies in your change jar, you could be looking at a coin worth anywhere from $20 to as much as $1,000 or more, depending on its condition. Coins that are graded mint state 65 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can command premium prices at auction. And from serious collectors. To understand why these errors are so valuable, it helps to know a little bit about how coins are made. Each coin begins as a blank metal disc called a planchet. The coin press uses engraved dies to strike the design onto each side of the planchet. In the case of a double die error, the die itself was misaligned during creation. That means every coin struck by that die carries the same error. This makes it a true die variety and not just damage or post-mint alteration. That's why collectors prize these coins. They're consistent, identifiable, and often quite rare. So how can you tell if you have a 1995 double die penny? First, grab a magnifier or a jeweler's loupe. Examine the lettering, especially the word Liberty. On a doubled die, you'll see a clear doubling of the letters, not just a shadow or blur. The same goes for In God We Trust. If you see that clear doubling, congratulations, you may be holding a coin worth hundreds of times its face value. But wait, the story doesn't end there. Even regular 1995 pennies without doubling can have collectible value if they are in exceptional condition. A standard 1995 Lincoln penny in uncirculated condition can still sell for a few dollars. That's because collectors seek out pristine examples for their collections and registry sets. Coins graded MS68 red or better are particularly desirable, and now let's talk about the market today. As of June 2025, prices for the 1995 double die obverse penny continue to be strong. Online auctions and marketplaces show sales ranging from $50 to $200 for mid-grade examples, and over $1,000 for high-grade certified specimens. It's clear this coin still holds a firm place in the hearts of collectors across the country. In fact, recent interest in error coins has surged thanks to social media and viral videos. More and more people are learning to check their change for hidden gems. So if you haven't already, start searching through your coin jars, old wallets, and piggy banks. You never know, a rare error penny might be hiding in plain sight. Now a quick word of advice. If you think you found a 1995 double die penny, don't clean it. Cleaning can scratch the surface and ruin its value. Instead, place it in a protective holder and consider sending it to a grading service. Professional grading not only confirms authenticity but also helps you get the best possible price if you choose to sell. To wrap up, while the 1995 penny might not be a wheat penny, it still holds an important place in numismatic history. With the right eyes and a little patience, you might just uncover a valuable coin that others overlook. Whether you're in it for the thrill of the hunt or the potential profit, the world of coin collecting always offers a few surprises, and the 1995 Lincoln cent is one of them. Where we explore rare coins and uncover the fascinating stories behind them. Today we're diving deep into a small copper piece that has captured a lot of attention over the past few years, the 2017 Lincoln wheat penny. And believe it or not, some of these coins are worth much more than just 1 cent. Now before we get into the value, let's take a step back and understand the history behind this particular coin. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation since 1909, introduced to commemorate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, who was the 16th President of the United States. It was the first time a real person had appeared on a regular issue United States coin. Prior to that, most coins featured Lady Liberty or symbolic figures. Originally designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin featured a right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln. The reverse design from 1909 to 1958 was the iconic wheat ears, which gave rise to the nickname wheat penny. These two stalks of wheat on either side represented prosperity and growth, and the reverse bore the inscriptions 1 cent in United States of America. Now fast forward to 2017. This year marked the 225th anniversary of the United States Mint, and to commemorate this milestone, the Mint made a small but historic change. They added the letter P to the obverse of the Lincoln cent for the first time ever. That's right, the 2017 penny bears a tiny P mint mark just under the date, signifying that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This had never happened before. Philadelphia minted cents for over 2 centuries without placing its mint mark on them, so this subtle change was actually a pretty big deal in the coin world. The addition of the P mint mark was intended as a one-year commemorative feature to honor the mint's history and the people who worked there. After 2017, the P was removed and the mint returned to the usual style with no mint mark for Philadelphia cents. That makes the 2017 Lincoln penny a first-of-its-kind coin, and because of that, it instantly attracted collectors. But what really adds excitement to this coin is not just the mint mark, it's the fact that some of these coins contain errors and varieties that can make them incredibly valuable. Let's talk about those now. Among the most sought-after 2017 Lincoln cents are coins with doubling, especially on the obverse. These are called double die pennies, and they happen when the die that strikes the coin has a misalignment that causes certain parts of the image Usually the date or the lettering to appear doubled. The most popular doubled die 2017 pennies show strong doubling on the word liberty and in the motto "In God We Trust." Collectors are paying serious money for well-preserved examples with this error. Another type of error found on some 2017 Lincoln cents is off-center strikes. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned in the press, so only part of the design is stamped. These coins are easy to spot, and depending on how far off center they are, they can fetch between $10 to over $50 or more, especially if Lincoln's face is still visible. Then there are die cracks, cuts, and strike-through errors which occur when debris gets between the die and the coin or when the die is damaged. These errors may seem small, but to collectors they represent uniqueness and rarity, and that can mean extra value. So let's talk real numbers. What's the current market value for a 2017 Lincoln penny as of today in circulated condition? Most of these coins are worth face value just 1 cent, but if you find one in pristine uncirculated condition, especially graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, it could be worth a lot more. Uncirculated examples regularly sell for between $1 and $5 depending on condition and errors. Now for error coins the value climbs even higher. A high-grade double die error can bring in $30 to over $100 in today's market, depending on how strong the doubling is and how well the coin is preserved. An off-center coin in mint state can go for $20 to $80 or more, and remember, rarity drives value. So if you find a unique error that hasn't been seen before, you could be sitting on a very profitable penny. But how many 2017 Lincoln cents were made? Well, the answer is nearly 5 billion. That's billion with a B, so it's not a rare coin by mintage numbers alone. However, very few were saved in mint state condition right out of circulation. Most people spent them without realizing their potential, which means high-grade examples with no wear are becoming harder to find each year. So what should you do if you think you have a valuable 2017 penny? First, look closely. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to inspect the coin. Pay attention to the date, the mint mark, and any signs of doubling or misalignment. Next, consider weighing your coin. A standard copper-plated zinc cent should weigh about 2.5 grams. If the weight is significantly different, that could mean you have a planchet error. Finally, if you think you found something special, consider sending it to a third-party grading service. They can authenticate your coin, determine its condition, and help you understand its value in the collector's market. Even if your 2017 penny isn't worth hundreds of dollars, it's still a great piece to keep. It represents an important moment in U.S. mint history. The first time a Philadelphia minted penny bore the P mint mark. It's a piece of numismatic history, and for many collectors that alone makes it worth holding on to. So next time you get change at the store or go through your coin jar, take a closer look at those pennies. You never know what hidden gems might be sitting right there in your hand. Today we are diving deep into a fascinating coin that has sparked a lot of interest and even confusion in the numismatic community. We are talking about the 2020 Lincoln wheat penny. Yes, you heard that right. A wheat penny dated 2020. Sounds impossible? Well, let me take you through the incredible story behind it, the history, why it's turning heads, and how much it's really worth on the market today. Now, before we dive into the current values, let's first rewind a bit and revisit the origins of the Lincoln wheat penny design. The very first Lincoln wheat penny was issued in the year 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. This was a historic moment because it was the first time a real person had ever been featured on a regular United States coin. The wheat penny featured the side portrait of Lincoln on the front and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse. This design ran until 1958 before it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959 and later by the Union Shield reverse in 2010. Fast forward to the year 2020. You might be wondering how a wheat penny could possibly have that date. The truth is that the United States Mint did not officially issue any 2020 wheat pennies. However, a very small number of novelty or error coins bearing the 2020 date and the classic wheat reverse have shown up. These were not mass-produced by the U.S. Mint. Most of them are either privately minted fantasy pieces, legitimate error coins, or created using old reverse dies paired with new date obverse dies under unique minting conditions. Some collectors believe that certain 2020 wheat reverse cents may have been created as part of test strikes, mule errors, or unauthorized mint products. Whatever the case may be, their existence is rare and they are not found in everyday pocket change. These coins are being classified as modern rarities, especially if they are authenticated and graded by trusted companies like PCGS or NGC. Now let's talk about value. This is where it gets very interesting. In recent months, examples of these coins have sold for anywhere between $50 to over $1,000 depending on their condition, grade, and provenance. Uncirculated examples with no signs of wear and perfect color can command even higher prices if verified as authentic mule errors. One such piece was reported to have sold at auction for more than $2,000 due to its sharp strike, mint luster, and uniqueness. Another factor influencing value is the novelty appeal. Since the wheat reverse had not been seen on a regular Lincoln cent since 1958, collectors are eager to get their hands on anything that brings that design back into the spotlight. The 2020 wheat penny stands out as a mysterious piece bridging the century-old tradition with modern minting. It taps into nostalgia while sparking curiosity, and that makes it a very hot item among both advanced and casual collectors. So how can you tell if you have one of these valuable 2020 wheat pennies? First, check the date. It must clearly read 2020. Next, flip the coin over and see if it features the two classic wheat stalks on the reverse instead of the Union Shield. If it does, you may have something special. However, beware of counterfeits and altered coins. Many fake versions are created by gluing or modifying different parts together. The only way to know for sure is to submit your coin to a professional grading company. They will authenticate it and assign it a value based on its rarity and condition. Now, a word of caution. Not every coin that looks like a 2020 wheat penny will be valuable. There are many replica coins made as souvenirs or novelty gifts. These are usually marked with words like copy or are made of non-standard materials like plated zinc. These have little to no collector value and should not be confused with the genuine error or mule coins. As for the future value of these coins, experts believe that their worth could rise steadily over time. Why? Because of their rarity, the mysterious origin, and the growing interest in Lincoln cent varieties. It's a perfect storm for value appreciation. If you happen to find one, especially in mint condition, it's worth holding onto or getting it certified. Even if you are not a collector, owning such a coin could be a smart investment. To wrap up, the 2020 Lincoln wheat penny is a fascinating modern oddity that has taken the coin world by surprise. With no official release from the US Mint, its existence adds a layer of mystery that only increases its appeal. Whether it's a rare mule error or a carefully crafted fantasy coin, its value lies in its rarity and the intense demand among collectors. If you come across one, get it verified and consider yourself very lucky. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like this video if you learned something new today. Drop a comment below if you've ever seen or owned one of these coins. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into rare coins, collecting tips, and coin history. Until next time, happy hunting and keep checking your change.